Hi everyone, this is a quick video on how to answer question 5, section A reading on the EDUQAS paper 2 GCSE English language exam. So once you've opened your question paper, you'll see that it will say section A reading. There are 6 questions here. We're just looking at question 5 for this video. If you've been working through this with me, we've already done question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4. So we're now on question 5 and we've got a new instruction. You will need to use both texts to answer the following questions. So for the next 2 questions, 5 and 6, it's both texts. So document 1 we use for questions 1 and 2. Document 2 we use for questions 3 and 4. And then we use both of them together for questions 5 and 6. Although this video is just going to concentrate on question 5. Now question 5, you can see here with 4 marks to you. So it's not a massive question like the previous question, question 4. It's the summary question, the summary and synthesis question, which is one of the easiest questions on the paper, but it is misunderstood. We need to make sure that we are answering the question specifically. And I know that sounds really simple, but this is where people lose marks. Question 5. Using both texts, briefly explain the behavior/temperament of the animals the writers encountered. So we need to focus only on the behavior and the temperament of the animals. So we're looking at the behavior or temperament of the tortoises in text 1, or the behavior temperament of the dog in text 2. This is not a comparison question. So we don't need to say in document 1, the tortoises are like this. However, it's not comparison. Deal with these documents separately. It's logical to start with the first text, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to look at that first text and I'm going to explain how the behavior, what the behavior of those animals that Charles Darwin encountered was like. Now, because it's 4 marks, what I could do is I could just make 2 points about the tortoise's behavior, then move on to question 2 and make 2 points about the dog's behavior. But what you can also do is you could make 3 points about the behavior of the tortoises and just 1 about the dog in document 2. Or the other way around, you could only make 1 point from document 1 and 3 points from document 2. But you must use both texts. So it could be equal or it could be 3 and 1. As long as both texts are used, both ways are a route to getting full marks here. But you must focus on the question. That's really important. And remember, we are briefly explaining. So a summary is just that. We're taking something very big and we're condensing it down into something really small. So let's look at let's look at document 1. So text 1, we're looking for the behavior and the temperament of these tortoises. Now, in that first paragraph there, it says, as he approached, one of them stared at me and slowly stalked away. The other gave a deep hiss and drew in its head. So straight away, that sort of implies to me that these tortoises are very passive, and if anything, they're defensive, aren't they? Because they either walk away from Darwin, or they hide from him. Yeah, so that could be my first summary. So in text 1, the tortoises are passive and defensive as they either walk away from Darwin or they draw their heads into their shells. That's actually what I might say here. So back to here. So in text 1, the tortoise's behavior is passive and defensive as they either walk away from Darwin or hide in their shells. Okay, so that would get me 1 mark. I've briefly explained it. It's in my own words. I don't need to quote for this one. You can if you want, but this is the only question where it's not essential that you need a quote. And I've addressed the actual question, haven't I? The behavior, the temperament, they're being passive, they're being defensive. So then I could make another point if I wanted to. Then I might say, also their behavior is, and I would give another example from that text. Or like I said, I could move on to text 2 now and give 3 more examples to make that up to 4 marks for text 2. I'm just going to show you an example from text 2 anyway. So I'll go to text 2 and I'm looking for the behavior of the animal. Now, obviously, this dog I think is quite aggressive, isn't it? Because it tries to attack her. So perhaps that's what we could say. Nice and simple. So yeah, where we've got here, she's talking about it circling and lunging and rearing its paws down my back. It's attacked her, hasn't it, this dog? So let me go back to the question paper. In text 2, the dog's behavior is aggressive as it attacks. And it's again even shorter, so simple. That would get us a mark. We've briefly explained its behavior because it's aggressive, and why, because it attacks her. If you want to give more detail, you can. You could put because it charges at her, or it rears or lunges or circles, whatever you want. But remember, you don't have to text. You don't have to quote the text in this question. It's one of the only ones where you don't have to do it. So that would get me 2 marks currently. So to get the full 4 marks, remember, I need to make another 2 points now about text 2, or another 2 points about text 1, or 1 more point about text 1 and 1 more point about text 2. Do not compare. You don't have to compare them. Deal with them as separate entities. That'll keep your focus on that question there, behavior and temperament. And again, I wouldn't spend any more than about 8 minutes on this question. No more than 10 minutes, definitely. So set a timer on your phone now, perhaps, and see if you can have a go at the rest of that question.